welcome. Today I will be talking about books with my very mediocre art, and the book I will be talking about is Only Mostly Devastated by Sophie Gonzales. The story follows Ollie after an amazing summer romance with this guy named Will, who is also not texting him back. Add to that, he finds out his family is going to stay in North Carolina. The silver lining is, though, he finds out that Will goes to the same high school that he just transferred into. But the sweet, caring, wonderful guy that he met over the summer isn't what he gets in high school. If we're honestly speaking, Will is kind of acting like a massive jerk. Now, Ollie has no intention of pining over this guy who obviously is not ready for a relationship, especially since Will is acting cold and hot every single second. But of course, like always, Will has to butt his head into every single part of Ollie's life and makes him very confused. And anyone who heard that absolutely horrible description would kind of be thinking, oh, this kind of sounds like Grease, right? And you're not wrong, it definitely has some inspiration from it, and I definitely felt that when I was reading it. But honestly, it feels like a new, fresh take on that kind of summer fling cliche. And I really appreciated it. I'm going to be completely honest, like non-spoiler section right now. I honestly wasn't in love with the romance, which is surprising, right? Like the description or kind of the blurb of what the book is about really focuses and narrows down. Like, this is going to be a book about Ollie and Will's relationship. And I'm not saying it wasn't. It just almost kind of felt like it wasn't the main point of the book at some points. I just felt like there were other storylines that made a bigger impact, and if I'm going to be honest, I really just didn't like the romance as much as I could have. And I think that came down to the fact that Will was kind of getting on my nerves, and I mean, if you take away all of the drama and conflict that goes with his character, he's kind of also a really bland character to read. I also just really wasn't into the ending. I mean, here's the thing. I had a realization that, like, of course the ending's gonna be the ending, but I just really disliked Ollie's reasoning to get him to the ending, if that makes sense. It also just kind of felt like Ollie's whole development ended up being weakened because of that ending. Like, not necessarily because of the ending itself. It was more so that, like, Ollie had to think these thoughts to essentially make the ending feel feasible. Like, it wasn't as, kind of abrupt as it was. The beginning and middle were definitely the stronger parts of the book. The ending kind of tapered off. It felt like there could have been more exploration of some of the topics, but it just kind of felt like it needed to end, so they kind of abruptly chose an ending for it. While I didn't love the whole romance section of the book, I did love Ollie's family and Ollie's new friends. I felt like they were really interesting characters. They definitely made the whole reading experience really fresh to read. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely some characters that were definitely flat. They really served the only purpose to help another character's development, but I was okay with that. I understood that, like, not every character needs to have in-depth character development. That would just be too long of a book. No, thank you very much. While I definitely had some things I didn't really love about the book, I feel like it was still a really fun read, and I would definitely recommend it to someone who's looking for, maybe a Grease-inspired story, cool modern twist to it all. Now, moving on to the spoiler section, in which I essentially complain about books, even if I do like them. I mean, writing is an art form, and like any art form, it's truly never perfect. I mean, look at my art. Now, the first thing that I loved about the story was actually how realistic the awkward conversations are. Because it's like whenever you read a YA, like, or any story really, because I think this is kind of a weird theme in all of them, is that like this random, new person comes into a situation and just starts like having these in-depth conversations with strangers. I'm just like, no, thank you. That rarely happens. Like, it happens like once every blue moon. But most of us, let's all agree, just have like long, awkward silences with every single person we ever meet. And like, try and find a conversation topic, and then we choose the worst topic to ever talk about for some reason. So I really love that. I thought those were like incredibly funny to read and see Ollie like stumble through every single conversation. Now, moving on to Ollie's new friends. I have to say new because the old ones, we have that one scene in the beginning with them and completely forget about them for the rest of the book. I'm not sure if the author also forgot about them or Ollie just like never spoke about them ever again after that. Maybe both. Both are really funny to think about, but regardless. Now, Ollie's new friends were really fun to read. They all had very distinct personalities on all very distinct goals, which I very much appreciated, especially with the number of characters I had to pay attention to. So I think I have to talk about Laura now. So I had a very love-hate relationship with this character, to put it mildly, because I understood why she was there. Does that mean I had to like her? No, but I understood. I got it because if she wasn't there in those sections, it would probably have been very boring to read. Like, she brought the drama. Did that mean I had to like her? No, I really disliked her for the majority of the book. I get it, she had her development at the end, but I still very much dislike her. I really don't like people that don't own up to the crap that they say. I still can't wrap my head around the fact that she said such horrible crap about Nima and still didn't own up to it after being called out on it. Like, what was going on through your head right now? I mean, I appreciated Ollie and Laura's relationship, and I thought it was a nice development to see from her. Still doesn't mean I have to like her. I probably won't ever, but it was nice to see that development happen. Besides Ollie's new friends, I was really interested in Ollie's family. I felt like that was such an interesting storyline to see, and I didn't really expect it at all. I was just kind of expecting, like a Grease, lighthearted, high school coming of age story. But it was really nice to see that that depiction of the stress, the emotional and physical taking that families, have when kind of dealing with such a horrible situation to be in. And then, even after seeing the grief and like the different ways that, people go through it was really it was unexpected, but it was good to see from this book. While reading, I felt like that was probably the most meaningful, impactful part of the book. And because of that, I felt like it made kind of the romance take a backseat, which is fine. But it was definitely like something I didn't really expect to see. I expected the romance to be front and center. That's not to say that the romance isn't there. It is. It's just, it was just not appealing to me, if I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't invested in the romance. And that came down to the fact that I really just was not interested in Will. I felt that as a character, if you take away all the conflict in the romance and just looked at Will as a character, he was kind of boring, if I'm gonna be honest. And I felt like Ollie deserved better. Okay, there, I said it. And that's because, I understood where Will was coming from. I get it. I understood why he didn't want to come out and, why he wanted to keep it a secret. I completely understood. He put out some valid points. However, like Ollie, I was getting annoyed because of his excuses. Because here's the thing, I get it. Ollie wasn't asking him to come out. If anything, he, completely understood why. But Will, he went out of his way to do things that would make sure that would make him appear straight, but also hurt Ollie immensely. And these are things that he didn't have to do by any means. For example, the scene in which they were in that diner, right? He didn't have to join in with his friends making fun of Ollie, essentially. He could have done a decent thing and just said, hey guys, maybe we shouldn't talk about said person and make fun of them right in front of them. Or change the subject. Oh yeah, and his excuse for that was, right, Ollie, well, they expect me to be an a-hole. I can't change that. Yeah, you can. You could have just been a decent human being in that situation. And if your friends make fun of you because of that, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you have crap friends. Truly crap friends. And here's the thing, his jock friends, definitely flat characters, but I understood, you can't have, fully developed characters for every single, one. They were definitely just there to add to other characters' development. And the example that I showed was probably like the lesser one of the two that I'm thinking of, because the other one, oh right, he was basically making out and grinding on his ex-girlfriend right in front of Ollie, because what, he has to like, you know, make sure that his friends don't think that he's gay or something because he has a picture of Ollie in his jacket. Like, again, I think this shows your friends are kind of dicks, okay? I don't know how to tell you this. And what was Will's excuse for this one? Oh, right, he had to defend his straight image to his friends. I was so proud of Ollie when he finally just broke up with Will. I was just like, yes, okay, I love that development. I love the fact that, you know, Ollie was just like, I deserve better. I deserve someone who actually gives a crap about me, who, you know, doesn't do every single action just to benefit yourself, honestly. This was probably my favorite scene of the book. I mean, it was just so refreshing to see a character actually take a stand and not just like simply take it because they're like too oblivious or too naive or like too anything, honestly. However, it was also the scene that I felt the book also took a turn downhill to the ending for me. And this was, I mean, as I said in the non-spoiler section, I was fine with the ending. I understood, like, they're gonna get back together at the end, like, it's so obvious. But it was also, I just really disliked the thought process that Ollie had before they ended up getting back together at the end. Like, he was having these thoughts of, like, oh, maybe it wasn't only Will's fault the whole relationship ended, maybe I should have done, like, halfway. I was just like, no. Like, maybe you could have done something, but no, like, the majority of the reason why the relationship ended the way it was of Will. Like, he was the one that made choices solely based off of like protecting himself and wasn't thinking about how his actions would have affected you. You can't really do a lot of like halfway with that kind of person. Now, I didn't hate that he ended up getting back together with Will. Like, I really didn't. I just wish that there was different setup to the ending. It kind of just felt like they had to like rush to the ending, so they just made, you know, these like, oh, well, he's doubting himself. Oh, so it's okay that they get back together at the end. Like, I feel like they could have changed that just a bit to make it less weird at the end. Don't get me wrong, the ending with Will kissing Ollie in front of everyone was very like teenage movie ending, which I appreciated. I just really disliked how it was set up that way. I wish they kind of expanded on some things so it would feel more like gradual to that ending. While I have been kind of complaining about some things about the book, I may not have loved some aspects about the book, but I still felt like it was a book I would wholeheartedly recommend if someone was in the mood for this kind of book or was just kind of hoping for like a YA contemporary to read. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts about the book, any new book recommendations that you may have, but those are my thoughts about Only Mostly Devastated by Sophie Gonzales. I'll see you in the next story.